one thing it has definitely done is it has taught us to be better leaders, where we are doing much more with a lot less. So I think that has been, managing cash flows, making sure you pay your vendors on time, making sure salaries are released on time. So all those things, both in my current organization and in my previous organizations, have been quite seamless in that sense.
Welcome to TravelDine. We are joined today by Mr. Anupam Dasgupta, the General Manager of the Leela Palace, New Delhi. Dasgupta brings with him over 25 years of extensive hospitality experience, having worked with leading hotels like the Oberoi Grand Kolkata, the Yak & Yeti Kathmandu, the Trident Hilton Jaipur, Ananda in the Himalayas, Ista Hyderabad, and ITC Vilasa. Prior to joining the Leela, Mr. Dasgupta was the general manager at the Oberoi and Trident, Mumbai. Welcome, Mr. Dasgupta.
Thank you. Thank you, Smita. Call me Anupam.
Okay, sure. Anupam, can you tell us a little about yourself, your journey in the hospitality industry, your stints at various hotels, etc.?
Sure. So, to be honest with you, I sort of wandered into the industry during the time that we were coming through the system. There was no counseling really. I mean, you have that a lot in schools now. Trying to understand what you'd be good at, etc., etc. So, in a way, it was a bit of a fortuitous situation for me that I happened to find myself in the hospitality industry. One thing I knew for sure was that I did not want to be in any industry which would be like a 9-to-5 desk job, that sort of a thing. I wanted something which was a little different. So obviously, it had to be a little vocational in nature. And that's how I got into the business. But having said that, it's been an amazing journey so far. The last 25 years have been absolutely outstanding. And if you were to ask me that if I had a chance to go back and reassess my position on this, I would always choose hotels again. So I started at the Oberoi Management School, what is today called the OCLD, the Oberoi Center for Learning and Development, which remains one of the finest hospitality programs in the world. And after that, I got into the Oberoi system. I worked there. I worked my way up through food and beverage, which remains an enduring passion for me. I think it's very, very difficult to take the food and beverage guy out of me, as many of my colleagues would attest to. I sort of grew along in the way and got my love affair with the industry. Improved over a period of time, and now we're totally inseparable. And I can't imagine not being a hotelier.
The hospitality industry is going through some of its toughest time period right now, thanks to the pandemic. What is your in terms of challenges? What have been the most challenging thing, the toughest challenge that you have faced running the hotel during the pandemic?
Most importantly, of course, I mean, the health and safety of the team has been a challenge in all the hotels that I've worked in the last 1.5 years. And I've only come on board at the Leela Palace, New Delhi. It's been about 5.5, 6 months. Prior to that, I was in Mumbai managing the operations of the Oberoi Group, South Mumbai rather. So managing people's health and making sure they're safe and sound and guests, that was obviously the biggest challenge. Now we know a lot more about COVID than we knew before. So when the first wave hit last year in March, we didn't know where to go. We didn't know how long it would last. We didn't know how infectious it was, and people were affected in more ways than one. So obviously that remained a challenge. Second challenge in running any business is managing, cash flows, which has become such a big and important task for us now, because business is down also the first and the second wave, barring that little intervening period when things were on the upswing. Business has generally been down about 70%. So, and we have huge fixed costs to manage. So, cash flows has been a tough one to manage. But having said that, it also, this whole pandemic, and one thing it has definitely done is it has taught us to be better leaders, where we are doing much more with a lot less. So I think that has been, managing cash flows, making sure you pay your vendors on time, making sure salaries are released on time. So all those things, both in my current organization and in my previous organizations, have been quite seamless in that sense. And a lot has to do with the team that is working with you for that. So these are the main key challenges I feel. The other thing is to keep the team engaged, because it's not regular work, it's not regular, not the regular hotel. In order to, sort of show them that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and how do we get there? What is it that we need to get there to stay, sane and to stay committed to the task? So that is the other thing that I feel is has been a challenge in this pandemic.
Anupam, what opportunities do you see for the Leela Palace in a saturated market like Delhi?
So I don't believe New Delhi is a saturated market. I think there is a fair amount of absorption capacity for the city. The city can easily sustain more rooms, and including the hotels which are there right now, we are not filled to capacity. So just to put it into context, something like a London has about 75 five-star hotels, whereas in New Delhi is only 39. New York and Dubai have, I think, 50, 49, 50 in that range. So we are still under capacity as a city. I think the city can absorb more, and even the hotels which are there right now, we are not exactly running 100% occupancy through the year. So I think Delhi has potential to absorb a lot more. I also feel that there's a lot of opportunity in the food and beverage space, because that's something that, with the demographic dividend of India, we do definitely, and a growing economy. Of course, I mean, COVID has been a bit of a dampener for us, but other than that, I think it's been, the potential for food and beverage is huge across different price points, and whether it's small curated, really high-end events at people's homes, to outstanding meals in restaurants. I think we are in a position to cater to the entire gamut of the operation. So there's plenty and more in terms of opportunity. The other opportunity is, on the wellness front. I think people will start looking after themselves a lot more than they have over the last few years. People have been running the rat race, so to speak. They don't look after themselves. They don't look after their families as much as they should have. I think this pandemic has been an opportunity for people to press the reset button on that. So I think people will look after their bodies more. They'll exercise more. They'll eat better. They'll obviously I think India's hygiene will improve, and the global hygiene as well. So all in all, I think there are plenty of opportunities to be had if you're looking in the right places.
So what is your vision for the hotel, both in the short term and the long term?
So the short term is, of course, to navigate through this current crisis, because we're not really out of it, so to speak. We will only go back to 2019 levels of occupancy, in my humble opinion, by, even though I don't have a crystal ball, not before the third quarter, which is the third and the fourth quarter of 2022. So somewhere around September, October, I feel is when we can look at some amount of revival, because inbound international business is not going to open till then. International business travelers who are fully vaccinated will start traveling, I guess. I mean, the fear factor will be much less, hopefully, by then. So I think navigating 21, 22 is going to be equally important. As far as the long term is concerned, I think Leela Palace New Delhi has the potential to be the #1 hotel in the world. And, my idea is, and my vision is to create an oasis of luxury for the discerning traveler. And that is essentially what I'm single-mindedly pursuing from the day that I've joined the organization.
Anupam, how do you see business developing in the months to come? Will the Leela brand have an edge over all the other hotels in terms of the space that you operate in?
I think so, because I feel we are uniquely positioned as a brand to launch ourselves. We are a relatively younger brand in the business, but we are also incredibly nimble, and our decision making is decentralized. We have an amazing young corporate team, and we have a lot of leeway to take decisions, from a tactical as well as a strategic perspective, while keeping the luxury ethos intact. So I think the Leela as a brand is uniquely positioned in that sense to make sure that it grows in the right way, and without diluting its luxury quotient. So we definitely have an edge over the others.
Now that the hotel is slowly opening up in terms of the F&B services, are you facing any staffing issues? Has any staff moved out of Delhi, and is there any difficulty in getting them back?
So we did have a few of our team members wanting to go back to their hometowns, and we were happy to let them go, because they want to be with their families during this tough time, and we've been in touch with them, we've counseled them, and we've reached out to them for all assistance. In fact, many of them have started coming back, because we started the vaccination programs for our teams as well as for our guests. For our teams as well as for their families. So many of them have come back, and as far as the operations are concerned, I don't see that as a problem, because the opening up has been gradual. So it's not a sudden opening where all restaurants are open at the same time, all public areas are open at the same time. So while the government of Delhi has opened up in stages and is still in the process of opening up, I think we will also open our hotel accordingly, for obvious reasons. We obviously have to follow all the rules, etc., etc.
What, as per you, is the future of the leisure travel industry, and how will it affect you?
So the second vaccination is the key, Smita. And of course, all the governments have to agree on what kind of travel passports or travel documents that they all agree on. So that, of course, is something that is a key. Also, in most places, in many places in the world, there are little ebbs and flow of the COVID problem still there. Like, for example, I was reading about the UK, where they might push back the reopening, the grand reopening, by a couple of weeks, because they've been a little little spike in infections. So the second vaccine, I think, is the key. And as of now, that's all we know. I don't, like I said before, I don't think the inbound international leisure travel, or for that matter, the corporate travel, it's not going to open up before the third or the fourth quarter of 22. So till that time, we just have to, do the best that we can with the other market segments which are there. In the meantime, domestic businesses are up and running and will continue to run. I feel because Indians are natural travelers, and we have the age on our side, we have money on our side, and people have been people have been traveling. I mean, had it not been for the second wave, we would have probably seen businesses coming back to at least 70 or 80% of 2019 purely from the domestic demand which is there in India. So MICE will definitely come back. Meetings, incentives will definitely come back, and so will corporate travel. But the second vaccination is the key. And as far as the future of travel, to be a little more specific in my answer to you, I feel a lot places which are driving distances from major cities will continue to do well. A lot of places in nature will continue to do well. Companies which hotels which assure people of safety and security, like we have our Suraksha program, which is curated and by Bureau Veritas, which is one of the oldest companies in the world. So people know about our Suraksha program and how serious we are about it. So I think that will continue to be the key, because people will want to go to places where it is safe to travel. Activity and experience-based stays are here for the future. That was already there, as you could see from the growing trends, but I think that will be even more now, because people will want to go to meaningful and do meaningful things. Would want to come away not just with an experience, but also with education. So I think that is the future of luxury travel. It's not just about how much money you spend, but you should have the luxury of space, the luxury of time, and I think the greatest luxury is when you're able to slow down. So I think from that perspective, it's intrinsic, where wellness is intrinsic with luxury in that sense, right? You can't have hurried luxury or you can't have hurried wellness. So both of them are, they sort of contradict each other.
What is your vision for the hospitality industry emerging from these times?
So I feel many operators and owners will come out with scars, which will be difficult to overcome at the moment, in the short term. But we are a resilient country, and as a nation, I think we are we bounce back fairly easily. So and as an industry, I mean, we've seen times like the 2008 financial crisis, we've seen 26/11, we've seen 9/11. So we've seen various black swan moments, as they say, in our business. And the first thing that happens is that the travel industry gets impacted in all of this. Luxury travel and leisure travel, and of course, even corporate travel. So to a large extent, will corporate travel go back to what it was pre-pandemic? I don't think so. I think there will be a certain adjustment. Maybe we've lost forever 25% of corporate travel. The non-essential, so to speak, corporate travel, that remains something that both domestic as well as inbound, that will remain right at the top of everything. People will move for meetings and incentives again, but in places where they're assured of comfort, they're assured of safety, while of course assured of productive output. As far as that is concerned, but in terms of all industry, I think, like I said, I think we've become better leaders, where we've learned to do more with less, and I think that is very, very, very important. And another thing that I really feel passionate about is the fact that as CEOs of our businesses, right? Everybody has to view their business as an entrepreneur or as a CEO. I think uh, the the idea is, the idea that this is somebody else's money you're playing with is something that is uh, will become intrinsic in people's minds, because the fiduciary responsibility that is entrusted in to everybody, will have to be taken more seriously, whether it's cash flow management, whether it's managing the business, and then of course ensuring that fixed costs are brought down as much as possible, and cash is managed. So I think we've all become better for it in that sense. Unfortunately, we had to have a COVID for it to hit home. But I think all of us in every industry, most people who learn from this would have learned at least a few of these home truths, so to speak.
Are you facing a disrupted supply chain, and how are you handling that? Is that one of the challenges that has been thrown due to the pandemic?
Yeah, so supply chains have been impacted. Like I said, the inbound leisure and the MICE business is completely out of uh, out of whack right now. We don't have them at all, uh, and we're doing a lot of marketing and PR outreach. We've pivoted in many ways, uh, and we've tried to find new areas of revenue and business. And that's another learning from the pandemic, which is to try and be flexible with your decisions. I mean, if one thing doesn't work, then it's the other, right? While keeping the luxury quotient in mind. So I think that is really the key. To be flexible, to take on to take on different revenue streams, and of course, you have to start everything from ground up, like whether it's the delivery, or let's say the delivery and takeaway initiatives, or the initiatives to do small luxury pop-ups in people's homes, right? Where you replicate Mego in somebody's home, or you replicate Le Cirque in somebody's home. So these are not things that you can just do overnight. You have to build your processes. You have to train the team in order to deliver the luxury quotient. So I think we've had to do that very quickly, and companies or hotels that have been able to do that have reaped the benefits of it.
You spoke about new avenues of revenue. Could you share some details on those things?
So yes, I mean, I think one is, of course, in food and beverage. There has been that opportunity for delivery. We are delivering the romance of Megu and the Cirque at people's homes, and Jamawar in people's homes. Uh, uh, the food, I mean, we are taking great care to make sure we are packing properly, and we are, giving all the instructions to people to heat it up properly, etc., etc. So, so that by the time the food reaches the person, it's really as close to the real thing as possible. So that of course is there, and then you have, like I said, we made the promise that we could set up, a Megu or a Le Cirque in your homes, and some people have taken us up on the offer, and they've been absolutely thrilled by what we've been able to deliver in a very short time. There's also this thing about trying to see what retail opportunities we have to try and use our real estate from a business as well as a luxury standpoint. So I think all these three things put together, we've managed to keep ourselves not just fit and fine, but also in the pink from a financial perspective.
What advice, Anupam, will you give to people who are graduating today, are entering the hotel management industry, or even young hoteliers, given the status of jobs today?
So, even before the pandemic, I would, if I would get asked this question, if somebody were to ask me this question, my answer would be standard in the sense that this is a business for somebody who's in it for the long term, and only to get into it if you're really passionate about the business, because the gestation for you is a relatively long gestation. It takes a lot out of you in terms of family time, in terms of wanting to carve out your hobbies, etc., etc. But it's an incredibly satisfying profession if you love it. And I'm lucky in the sense that for me this is like a hobby which became my profession, and I couldn't be happier as far as that is concerned. So it's important that they never move away from this thought that things do take time, but they have to stay the course. They have to stay the course, and really, this is not going to be there forever. This pandemic, it's. I think everybody understands that. The industry understands it. We've been trying to support as many colleges as possible with counseling, with training, and of course future recruitment for as and when things open up. But it's important that they also uh, utilize this time to gain a lot more skill, right? Whether it's people in the business or people who are learning to get into the business, right? To understand the financial aspects of it and to understand the finer food and beverage aspects of it, both of which are difficult to pick up while you're on the job. So utilize this time to do that, because at the end of the day, anybody who's managing a P&L is, or for that matter, even if you're not managing a P&L, even if you're a part of a restaurant, even whether you're a team member or the restaurant manager, or for that matter, you're a front office assistant, or even the doorman, everybody has a responsibility towards the P&L of the hotel or of the organization. And that is something that they need to understand, that there is no non-finance person. You could be a non-accountant. And I feel really strongly about this, very passionate about this. And I've been taking classes on this with my team on finance, on understanding P&Ls, understanding balance sheets. So I think that is something which is very, very important, that they learn finance and they learn the finer aspects of food and beverage during this time, so that when they're out into the job market, they're raring to go, and they do a fantastic job of it.
You said hoteliering was a hobby, it's a passion. But during the pandemic, did you pick up any hobby or skill besides hoteliering?
Yeah, so I've always believed in keeping fit, and so I've utilized this time to make sure I started doing yoga. I've always been a very passionate runner. I've done half marathons, and I've trained with coaches in Mumbai and in Delhi. And but I've started doing yoga, something that my wife has been asking me to do for the longest time. And I used to always think it was very boring, till I've actually found a lot of I really have started enjoying it, to be honest with you. I also have done a few courses during this time because I really like to practice what I preach. So whether it's on design thinking, on finance, or on strategy, I've also I used to speak French fluently at one time because it was my second language in school, and I realized that I have become very rusty at it. So I've done a refresher program on French as well. So, and that's now helping me because my son has got French in school, and now I'm teaching him.
There is one thing which is on everyone's mind right now is to travel. Well, maybe because we can't, so we're all thinking about it all the time. If you could travel right now, where would you go and why?
The one thing that seduces me about travel, Smita, is nature and mountains and the jungles. So where I have mountains and jungles together, any geography, I'm willing to travel there. And we've got some amazing hills very close to Delhi, in Uttarakhand, in Himachal, Jammu and Kashmir, further east as well, Mizoram, Nagaland, outstanding, locations. So give me a mountain any day, and I'd go for it. It's the mountains for me more than the beach.
Thank you, Anupam. It was lovely speaking to you. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
joining us today. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Much.
Thank you, Smita. It was a pleasure. Thank you.